Alrighty, so I have tried to do this video on my computer about 8 times and it's not working, so now I'm going to use my phone. This is my book. It's called Setting the Table by Danny Meyer, and it's an autobiography by himself. And beginning of the book kind of talks about his childhood, growing up, where he was from, and how he was privileged enough to be able to travel around the world and around the country, um, and how really, starting at a young age, how that had a huge effect on what he was going to do for the rest of his life. Talked about his father and how his father was a travel agent and a hotelier, and that his father really wasn't home as much as he had liked when he was growing up, which had an effect on him and his mom and his career later on down the road. But growing up, he was able to travel to places like Italy and Paris and Rome and France, and just he was able to experience different types of cultures and foods and cuisines, which really got it all started for him. His mom made him keep a diary of all the places they went and the things that they did, and he talked about at the time how he really didn't like it as much, but at the end of the day, it was really beneficial for him. He was able to learn a lot about food and about the different cultures, and and really is what gave him his first stepping stone into the hospitality industry was being able to travel to those different places growing up, and that really had a huge effect on him. After after his childhood in the book, it talks about kind of his course before restauranting and how he had a career, and he was doing really well at it. He was making over $125,000 a year, but he just didn't like what he was doing. It wasn't dealing with food or hospitality, and one day he ended up quitting and packing up all his stuff and went to Europe and started training to be a chef. Even though he wouldn't become a chef in the end, he ended up training with multiple chefs in Paris and France and Italy. Um, and when he came back, it was actually really beneficial for him when he opened his first restaurant, Union Square Cafe in Union Square, New York City. Just being able to communicate and have that dialogue with his chefs, I think was really beneficial for him. Um, just being able to, like I say, communicate with them and making sure that things like the recipes and the costing and everything is correct, and so that was really a big part of his success was the training that he had. But then once he opened his restaurant, it took a couple years first to get a restaurant, to be a common name, household name. Like I said, he opened his restaurant in Union Square, small restaurant, and he made it very clear that one, he was genuinely caring for all of his customers. It didn't matter, if it was one person that came to sit at the bar or if it was 20 people that came for a birthday party. He cared equally and just as much as one to the other, which I felt was I mean very important to the success of his company because he genuinely cared so much about everybody that stepped through his door. It brought people back to his restaurant, which I mean is obviously huge for him. But he ended up opening multiple restaurants, all within walking distance from the Union Square Cafe and his restaurant. He wanted to make sure that every restaurant that he opened, that he had a pulse on the restaurant, and he was able to walk to the restaurant, every day, and he stopped at every one of his restaurants every day and talked to as many guests as he could, and kind of got feedback from as many guests as he could about how he could make their experience better, and how they can make it more enjoyable. And like I said, that was really a huge part of his success was that he genuinely cared about his guests and about his employees. It also talked about um, how they're serious about having fun. but they're also serious about the service. There's a fine line between fun and service, and the combination of the two really makes for a unique dining experience. And when you're truly invested in your guest, and you truly care about them, he talks about it. It creates a sense of community and shared ownership, and that was really important to him, was because they wanted to have their guests feel as if they were important, and they were. Um, I also talked about his mission statement a little bit, and it was to express excellence in the most inclusive, genuine, and hospitable way possible. Just genuinely caring about his customers, and about his employees was very important to him. Um, he also talked about the opportunities that he had. When he would walk around and talk to guests. It wouldn't be so much of as if maybe their food was bad or they waited too long, but um, talking to them about just being able to have an opportunity to grow, have an opportunity to improve, and that's really what he wanted to get from each experience with his guests. He also said that when you take an active interest in our guests, like I said, we create a community and sense of ownership. Um, Also, talked about um, just caring, just genuinely caring, and that was, that growing up from where I'm from, and where I came from, that's you treat others like how you want to be treated, and karma, and do right by others, and others will do right by you, and that was one of the main things that I took from this book was, um, treat others, the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. And, if you do the right thing, that in return, good things will happen to you. So, at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this book, and I'd recommend to anybody in the hospitality industry.